Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mindset Teaching Outside the Box. We are your hosts, Jillian Willie
and Eileen Edwards.
And today we are talking about meditation again. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we did not get to finish diving into the components of meditation. So we're going to continue with that. And we are so blessed because Eileen is a meditation teacher, so she's our expert. Eileen, tell us what component we're talking about first.
All right, so meditation actually has quite a bit of components, but what I like about it is a lot of them kind of like go together. So the first one I was going to talk about is having an anchor. You'll hear meditation teachers, if you listen to meditation, guided meditations, you'll hear them use that term a lot. And an anchor is just something where your focus is going to go. So most people use the breath. So you'll hear, you'll hear someone say, focus on your breath. But your breath is not the only anchor. I think we mentioned that last time. It's not the only anchor that you can use. You can use, focusing on your breath. You could focus on the feeling in your hands. You could focus on the sound of the fan that's in your room. It's just having like a single focus. That's where your attention is going to be.
So that makes sense. Like it's something that anchors you. I kind of think of like when you have a boat and you throw the anchor, it sinks into the water and catches on the sand in one place. So your focus is on the one place or the one thing, and that's all you're kind of thinking about in that moment or focusing on. That's because when you first said anchor, I was like, but wonder in what way that means. So that makes sense. I love that.
Yeah, and if you think a boat being like attached to an anchor, the boat will move, not a ton, but it like swiftly moves about. Same thing's going to happen during meditation. Your mind is going to kind of go off, but you're going to come back to that anchor. You're going to come back to that spot, which will happen through a couple of the other things that I'm going to talk about. Same thing with your body. You'll get sensations in your body. You might have noticed tension in your neck or something like that. But again, it's just going to kind of swiftly go there, and then you're going to swiftly come back to that anchor. So yeah, that's a really important thing to have in meditation.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that can help, especially when we're newer, for anyone who's newer to meditation, who does have that, my mind's all over the place. How do I bring it back? To have an anchor can be really helpful, to kind of start getting yourself into how to bring your thoughts back. And of course, I think it's a great strategy for anyone, whether you're experienced or not. But I think that's a really great tip for anyone looking to kind of work through that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when I first started meditation, like I thought the anchor had to be the breath. And I was like, I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, what do you mean focus on the breath? What do you mean, like, follow my breath? Like, I could try, I could last maybe a second, but my mind's gonna start. Like, literally, the first 6 weeks of meditation, I struggled. I really, really struggled. And I couldn't understand how someone could just focus on their breath. Like, I didn't understand in the beginning. And then meditation teachers, that I was following, like slowly, like had brought up some other things. And I was like, oh, in her body, maybe that I can do. And if you've paid attention to the last couple episodes, you'll know that didn't work for me. That was even worse than the breath because I couldn't even feel my hands. Feel what? I couldn't feel anything. I was like, there's nothing there. Like, what is it that I'm feeling? And it's because my mind was so active that I didn't even feel the sensations. So initially, I actually was focusing on sound initially. I was upset by that, of course, because back then I'm diagnosed with hyperacusis. So I have an extreme sensitivity to sound, and tinnitus. And I remember thinking, like, why would I even want to focus on sound? I want sound to end. I don't want sound in my life. It's so torturous. But it was the only thing that I could focus on because I couldn't stay on my breath. It seemed like it was always fleeting and I couldn't feel my hands. So initially I did use sound as my anchor. Um, it was a source of discomfort for me, like I said, because of my situation. Um, but don't worry, like, even though I'm diagnosed with that, I don't suffer from hyperacusis anymore or tinnitus. I have both of them, but I have no suffering as it results to those at all. I don't take medicine for them at all or anything anymore. Um, but yeah, anchor is really, really important. And in teaching meditation, I've had quite a few people say, um, that they're glad, newer people to meditation, that they're glad that I gave them other things to focus on because they thought it had to be their breath and they
Mhm.
didn't know how they were going to be able to do that. So, like a fan in the room or lawnmower outside, sound of the refrigerator or the dishwasher, just something that's a constant
Mhm. Mhm.
was
I think that's great.
relieving for them.
Mhm. Yeah, that gives options. And like you said, doing what resonates with you. And something that dawned on me when you were sharing how, for you, that even though it was hard, you didn't like sounds at the time, sound in this case was what helped you start your meditation practice. So it's that like flipping, looking at the gratitude in the situation and kind of flipping it from I don't like it, but then here it's a positive thing that I'm able to use it for something good. So I think that's a really beautiful example of that too.
Yeah, I know. And this is a little bit off topic. I apologize so early. um, but I learned the same thing with my like I have sensory processing challenges that I've had my whole life. My son has it too. Um, and later on in my journey, probably over a year after starting meditation, it occurred to me that all the things that I've suffered through, like feeling um, like my clothes on my skin, like all of these things of being overwhelmed by my sense perceptions, my sensory experience, um, were all just things that were happening right now, and that the suffering didn't come from the fact that I could feel my, I probably could now, I haven't tried, but I couldn't wear like tights or um stockings or anything like that. um but they were all like present moment, and the reason I was suffering so much for years and years and years is because um they were distracting me from my mind, from the activity that was just constant in my mind, and it they would take me from it. And now I know that that was a gift. They were all of those things, those feelings, the sounds, the light, the smell, all of that, bringing me back to the present moment over and over and over and over again. Um, and they were a gift.
Oh, that's so good. And that's
Yeah.
such a great thing to even realize. I know there are a lot of adults, but also children, that struggle with some of these different sensory, things. And that's a great way to help them with it, even if it is a struggle. Because if we can start shifting it to, well, what's the positive in this? And let's start using it as a gift and see what's good about it. And that can kind of help, work on that.
Yeah. It's really helped because now, like, they'll come up. It's not that I don't experience it. They'll come up when it comes up, I'm like, bring it back right here, right now. Like, what's happening right now? Because where is my head? Where is my mind? Where am I that I'm suddenly like agitated by the shirt tag? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it that I'm doing right now that is agitating me? Like, I understand that I have that particular diagnosis, but like, what's happening that it's causing me suffering? Does it have to cause me suffering, or can it be accepted? Which brings me to another component of meditation is acceptance. You have to really, in meditation, be accepting of anything and everything that comes. And I think that initially is really hard, but that it actually gives you a bit of peace, which is another part of meditation. But like, if you can accept anything and everything that comes up, then you're not fighting the moment. Like, it's another thing is non-judgment. Like, you have to be able to be in the present moment, even if it's just for 10 minutes, but like be fully in the present moment. And then if your mind leaves, my kids like to call it the monkey mind, if your mind goes somewhere, it's okay. Like, it's going to happen. We're human. It's going to happen. It might happen every 2 seconds. It might happen every half of a second. It might happen every 10 seconds. It might happen every minute. It doesn't matter. It happens. Like, and then you just bring yourself back to your anchor. That is the practice. That is what it's about. It's just bringing yourself back, not judging yourself for the fact that your mind took over, not wondering and questioning, oh man, I wonder how long I've been in my mind. It doesn't matter. Just being aware, bringing it back. Your space between gets larger and larger. Even now, after 2 years, like, I don't have an entire 10, 20-minute sit with no times of bringing myself back. I still have to bring myself back, but it's significantly longer chunks of time than it ever was before.
So I feel like I've learned just in hearing you say that, like, meditation is all about, and correct me if I'm wrong, or one of the reasons to meditate is to be able to listen to yourself, right? And to see what,
Witness what you do.
like, that's really powerful. And I mean, I've been meditating for a few months now, and I've done a little bit of research on it or watched videos about it, but I don't know, that particular, hearing you say that has really kind of clicked something for me. And it's not about, because there are all sorts of meditations out there, do this meditation to bring abundance, or bring this one to manifest, and bring this one to have a great day and be energized. But at the end of the day, what it's really about is bringing it back to yourself, and just going within and listening to yourself.
Yeah. You don't want to be run by your mind. You don't want to be, I mean, we're all going to be doing things subconsciously. It's just the nature of our existence. There's no getting away from that. But you want to try and bring as much consciousness to your days as possible. You want to be able to be aware of your thinking, being aware of the feelings, being aware of the emotions, bringing awareness to all of it. And meditation really is an opportunity for you to bring 100% awareness to the present moment. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfectly still. It doesn't mean that you're going to be perfectly silent. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to barge into your space while you're, like, all of it, which brings me to another component of meditation called equanimity. All of it is accepted. Equanimity just means that you can be of a balanced mind no matter what enters the space, mental space, physical space, doesn't matter. And one of the meditation teachers that I follow, Jeff Warren, he calls it welcome to the party. And I love that. Like I needed that. I probably started following him about 5 months into my journey. And in that moment, I needed that because I used that as a reminder for myself when my kids would come and my eyes would be closed. Not that you have to close your eyes, but I do. And they would like come and tap my leg, like, mommy. And it was just like, welcome to the party, I'd say inside my head. Like, um, you know, somebody beeps a horn outside driving past my house. Welcome to the party. I'm not a, this is going to sound funny. I'm not a fan of fans because of my challenges. So I don't like ceiling fans or anything like that. Now I can handle them. I don't choose to use them, but I can handle them better. And like the breeze on my skin if my husband turns the fan on while I'm in the middle of meditation, and it'd be like, welcome to the party. Because equanimity is just being, accepting, and it's like including whatever happens into the meditation,
Mhm.
welcoming it, and just folding it into everything else.
Mhm. I love that. That's like, because nothing is good or bad. So that goes back to that, is that we apply oh, this is annoying that my kid is tapping on my shoulder when I'm trying to meditate, versus, well, welcome. This is part of the experience. It's okay. And even just saying welcome to the party, that has like a different energy than those other thoughts. It's it's more of an acceptance. It's coming from a place of it is okay. And life does happen.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that. I mean, I like it for a lot of reasons that I've already kind of just said, but I don't meditate around my kids right now because they're so little. And I mean, I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. So there is never a moment where there wouldn't be noise or tackling me or something if I'm, sitting trying to meditate quietly. So I wanted to try to start incorporating it into like our nighttime routine because I want them to see it. I want them to start. I know they're not going to do it right now, but I want them to just be used to it. And just like, not right now, a 5 minute, but, do like a 5 minute meditation to kind of calm them down. And, but I haven't tried yet because of that. So hearing you say that, I'm kind of thinking, maybe I should. And just if it lasts 30 seconds, great. It lasted 30 seconds, no big deal. Or if they're tackling me while I'm doing it, okay, well, welcome to the party. This is just the way it's going to be. So I love that. And I'm going to take it and start, my 5 minutes of meditation as part of bedtime routine with my kids. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. That was so good.
I do it with my daughter, not with my son. But when I first tried to start meditation with them, you'll laugh. I might have told you this before, but when I first started to try and get them, I would do them in the car because they couldn't run away. And it was like, I obviously am driving, so my eyes are open, but I'm doing like the breathing, focusing on my breath, but my subconscious mind is, driving from home to work. And I'm a school teacher, so they're going to school. And it was like we had a 20-minute drive, and I would just run a 10-minute guided meditation. And they would just, initially they would again, kind of a thing, but they slowly started to just kind of accept it and go with it. And my daughter would close her eyes. My son would keep his eyes open, but he wasn't doing anything else. No phone, no game, just, being. And he has actually a few favorites. There are some actually that have just changed him completely. And it's just because most of the guided meditations that I do have like a reflection kind of component to them at the end. Just something to kind of enter your day with some kind of like intent. Um, and some of those that we've done like completely changed his thinking on something. And I remember one of them being oh, it was called hot boredom. So the meditation was actually about the feeling of boredom, because that's another thing that comes up for people when they're meditating is they're like, "Oh my god, how many more minutes? I can't just sit here, or I can't just listen," or because their mind, takes over. The ego comes in and forget it. And it talked about like the differences between like a good, hot, I mean a good like cold boredom or whatever, like a natural boredom, and then that hot boredom, that boredom that like eats at you, which happens to a lot of people when they're meditating. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I have during related arts classes." Because he used to struggle in every related arts. And it was because he just couldn't contain his energy, and he's empathic. So, like, the energy of everyone else in the room, while all the directions are given and all the questions are asked. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I'm having." And it talked through a couple of like strategies to get through that feeling. And he started applying it that day. I remember it was music class. He started applying it that very day, and he was like a totally different kid. And then we enlisted the music teacher to help him with the rest of the related arts classes. But his life has been changed from that day. Um, and so um, I think that reflection is something that is, important. It's not necessarily part of meditation, um, although I think for most people it is. Um, but even after, I find that it helps me kind of come back um, from meditation.
That makes sense because I have not done that. I've not experienced doing like a reflection when my meditations are coming to a close. And then it's kind of like, I open my eyes and kind of take a sec to orient again, but then like I go about my day. So there's really not that time to kind of adjust and say, okay, well, now I'm going to take whatever I just thought about or whatever. I get a lot of, at this point, like messages or inspirations
Yeah.
that come to me, but there's not that time to really think about, okay, well, how am I going to take this and then bring it to my world? For me, it feels kind of dreamy. So if I don't do something with it right away, I start to say, wait a minute, what was it again? Or I start forgetting because it feels like a dream. So I really like that component. Um, and could you also put that hot boredom link in our group? Do you think you might be able to find it?
Um, that one, I'll check and see if it's public, but that one might be one of the ones that um has to be paid for, because that one was through the Calm app, and I have a lifetime membership. After using it for 2 weeks, I was like, no, this has changed my life. I'm never gonna not be doing this. So I have a lifetime membership to the Calm app. Um, but I will look into seeing, because some of them are free and some of them are not, but I will definitely look into that.
Okay,
Um,
cool. I think that's really good, even just to be aware of that. I mean, I haven't ever heard of that meditation, but even just hearing you use that language like cold and hot boredom, I can totally relate. Thinking back, there have been so many times where I'm so bored I can feel it
yes.
inside of me. And like more so when I was a kid growing up, but being able to put that verbiage to it, like kind of just helps. And then, I mean, having strategies would be even better, but I really like that. And I think kids will relate to that. Most kids are bored at some point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that could be really beneficial to kids and adults.
Yeah, they like the monkey mind concept too, that it's kind of all over and hopping around. And that's something that's helped my daughter, especially. And now she'll kind of bring it up on her own. Where she was trying to go to bed the other night and she was really struggling, and she was like, it's my monkey mind. I was like, I know, I get it. I experienced that too. So I've talked about the anchor. We've talked about awareness of our mind, awareness of our body, acceptance, which for me, I think of unconditional love as well when I think of acceptance, because you truly are accepting the present moment, loving everything and all that is, no matter what. Doesn't matter what it is. Um, and we talked about equanimity, which is, just welcoming and accepting your present moment as it is. I think I brought up non-judgment as well. And that's just, don't apply that second arrow that I've brought up before. It's like, yes, your mind has taken over, but end the suffering there. You don't have to suffer. It's like your mind is taken over, bring it back. Don't judge yourself for it happening. That helped me so much. When I realized that everyone has their mind take over, that it wasn't that I just couldn't meditate. I can't tell you how many friends say, meditation just isn't for me. I can't do it. Like, I've never been successful at it. It really comes down to that moment for me when I realized that, oh, that's normal, that the mind is going to take over, that your body's not still. It's normal. You accept it. And once you accept it and you realize that, like, you can just bring yourself back to your anchor, you can just refocus on your body or refocus on your breath, and that it's okay. There's no punishment, there's no suffering. Like, once that realization was made, then it was like, oh, I could do this. I got this, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes back to what we were saying in another episode about people have a misconception about what meditation is or what it looks like. And we think it has to be perfect. And that's part of conditioning. Everything we do has to be perfect. And, and some people even have this paradigm that things are supposed to take a long time, that we're not supposed to, that it's going to be this whole long process. And, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, depending who you are, how long it takes for you, but it doesn't matter. That's what's so great about it, is that everyone can benefit, and it doesn't matter what comes in or what happens, or if you can focus on one thing for a minute or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's just about the practice of doing it and just trying to calm your mind and just be aware. Yeah.
Yeah, because the sitting, not everybody does seated meditation. The whole idea of like sitting in silence is not meditation. The meditation is the awareness of your present moment. It's the actual act of being aware if you're not still, or aware if it's not quiet. It's that you are in that present moment and a witness to all that is happening. That is meditation. It's not that you can be perfectly still or that you can be perfectly silent or that your mind is not running away with you, because it
Mhm.
will. But you being aware that your mind has done it, that is the practice. That is you actually being conscious. That is you. You're aware, you can bring it back. You have control. That's why I said, like, I feel like meditation gives people a sense of control, because at first you're going to feel like you're not, but like when you realize that your awareness and that you can bring yourself back to your anchor, like, you did that. You're in control of that. That's not your mind or your body taking over. That's you. You are the witness behind it all.
Mhm. Yeah, I used to think I had to get in my position, and I couldn't move. If I moved, it was gonna mess it up. So, and then I just started, like, my legs would get like, you know, what's the when it gets tingling?
Um,
I couldn't think of the word. What, like, my legs would start falling asleep. So then I'm like, I gotta move, and then I would just do it, and then I could bring myself right back.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that, and like, meditation just is whatever works for you.
Yep.
People could meditate in a way that no one's done before. It doesn't matter. And that's what I love about the episode we had 2 weeks ago, and even last week and this week. I think it's just clearing things up for me. I'm learning new things, but I think it's really important to get this out there, what it looks like, and what it really means, because it can be customizable for every person out there.
Yeah. And in my mindful schools training, um, they talked about like it's important to talk about that with kids, um, that they understand that they don't have to be perfectly still.
Mhm.
Talk about in the meditation practices for mindful schools, we talk about like, see if you can make your body more still. Now what do you notice? Like that kind of stuff. It's not that you're going to have kids that wiggle. Kids wiggle. That's what they do. So
Mhm.
it's not like, now remember everybody, we're trying to be still. No. It's, next phase of the meditation. Now let's see if we can make our bodies even more still. And then it's that noticing, that awareness. What did you notice when we did that? You know, like kids being understanding of like how their body feels differently when it's active and when it's busy, when it's quiet, when it's silent, when it's loud. Like, what are the different things that you notice in your mind, in your body, your senses? Um, it's all mindfulness.
Mhm. That's so good. And kids need that. We don't learn how to be aware of ourselves. And I think when you're aware, that can help you regulate your emotions. So you know, okay, well, I'm about to get frustrated at this. So now I know before it gets out of hand, before I let those big emotions take over, because I'm aware of it. So I think, we try to teach kids here are all the strategies of how to deal with these feelings, which is great and necessary. But what if instead of putting a band-aid on it, what if we got to it at the root and got it before it became a big issue? Because we know through awareness there doesn't have to be any problems. We make things problematic because everything is just what it is.
Mhm.
So if we can teach kids how to be aware of their vibration, which is, the feelings we feel is an indication of what vibration we're feeling or we're in, excuse me, then we can kind of catch it before it becomes a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember like when I first was trying to do meditation in my classroom, I wasn't necessarily judging kids for moving or making noise or anything like that, but I had this sense of like worry that maybe them doing that, I was okay with them doing that, but that them doing that wasn't somehow impeding the person who was sitting next to them, that they couldn't do what they needed to do, that they couldn't focus where they were trying to focus. And none of that matters. None of it. Um, because another part of meditation is the idea of impermanence. Um, Nothing is permanent. So, like, your feet go numb. That's not permanent. Your feet are not forever going to be numb and tingly. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is permanent. Everything changes. So, like, if someone's making a noise and you teach your students to understand that what's happening right now isn't going to happen forever, then you can become more accepting of things that might not go as you expect. Not having expectations is something that I like to talk about a lot too, um, but impermanence is part of our existence. And I don't think a lot of people really think of that very much. What's happening right now isn't permanent. What happened yesterday wasn't permanent. What will happen tonight won't be permanent, you know? And that makes it not only bring more acceptance, but also bring more gratitude for the present moment.
Mhm.
And I was coaching an adult, not a child, but I was coaching an adult probably almost a week ago now, um, about this idea. Like, you don't have to like a situation. Things will happen that we don't like. We didn't expect it. It maybe goes against our beliefs, whatever it is. You don't have to like something, but you do have to accept it. And I think a lot of people think that acceptance means that you like it or you're okay with it. No, you don't have to like it, but you do have to accept it because after all, it is what it is. It already happened. We don't have a rewind button. We can't go back and change it. You can't change or control the people that were involved in that situation,
Mhm.
it already happened. It's all about what are you doing now in this present moment. Now in this present moment, you're accepting that it happened and that this is the, you know, in this particular case, I'm going to trust that the truth will come out. I know because it, after all, it is the truth. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
all the resistance that we bring in as humans, all of that, like not liking something, and then the judgments that come in, and the resistance that comes in, and the but, all of that stuff, all of that brings suffering.
Mhm. Yeah. And there are a couple things, let's see if I remember everything that I was thinking as you were talking. Right now, I'm thinking when you're saying we bring in resistance, if we can learn to let go, that'll help shed any of that negativity that we're feeling because we're just letting it go. When we give energy to things, they grow. That's what we give momentum to. So if we're giving energy to positive things, that's what's going to grow. So our future, or I'm sorry, our current reality is a document of past thinking. So whatever situation is happening right now in, your life, that's because of something you saw, last week or last month or whenever, however long it took to manifest. So if we continue to add negative energy to it and to continue to think about this is what's going on, I don't like it, all this negative stuff, that's what's going to come back again. You are creating more of that. But if you can say, I'm going to give, I'm going to let it go and I'm going to start giving energy to positive things, what I want to happen or what's good about this, then that shifts your energy. And then you're creating right now a happier, better tomorrow and next week and next month.
New
Um,
reality.
yeah. And I know it's hard to get caught up in it, but if we can shift to that way of thinking, then it makes a better tomorrow. And something else you were saying, um, what what's the term for this? Impertinence, right? Did I say that right?
Impermanence.
Impermanence. Um, Something else that I thought of that just that idea of nothing's permanent is peace. I know there are some situations in my life that I'm creating something new because I'm not happy with the way they are. So I'm giving positive energy to what I do want to create instead. So, but it gives me a sense of peace, just knowing this isn't going to be forever. I'm creating something that I do want and to replace this.
Mhm. Yep. It's like they say, this too shall pass. It's like nothing is permanent. And I think it has like two sides to it because you have the impermanence of like, okay, this suffering will not continue. Like this is going to end. But then it brings a sense of gratitude also because, it's the same thing with things that are positive. It's like, yeah, this is going well right now, or I have this person in my life right now, but then nothing is permanent. So making sure that we're, grateful for what is. I always make sure that I'm, you know, practicing gratitude, Um, the last few things I was gonna say, you said peace. That was something that will come. It might not feel like it at first, but it comes. It's just presence, which I think kind of attaches to everything that I've mentioned. It's just being present. But that having that awareness will bring you to the present moment. You might have to bring yourself there 1,000 times um, in a day, but you'll get there. That, having that awareness of the present moment.
Yeah. I love that. We've been talking a lot lately about presence. So I've been trying and I've not done the best job, but I'm working on it on just being present in the moment. And I mean, it makes such a big difference. Last night, so bedtime for us is changing as my kids are growing. So now when we sit in the chair and it's like, okay, it's calm time and we all pile in, now they like poke each other and they get on, and they're playing. I'm like, it's calm time, we're not supposed to be rallying each other up. And I used to kind of get frustrated with it, but I started just being present in the moment. I picked that time because it's the time I particularly wanted to work on. And I feel like when we're working on being present, it can kind of help to choose one, chunk of time at a time,
Mhm.
to increase your presence. But I have found that by being present, I'm able to not care that they're doing that. I'm just like, I'm just gonna let them do it. They're having fun. They're not hurting each other. It is what it is, and I'm finding that I'm accepting it more, and I'm finding the beauty in it, that my kids are having fun together, and they're they love each other, and that kind of frame of mind. And I just use it as a time for me to just close my eyes and relax a little bit because we have our music playing. So I think being present in the moment can help with all of that. And we've talked about this, but the acceptance and positive energy and shifting your mindset to the positive and all of this good, beautiful stuff, and finding the good in everything.
Yeah, and not like trying to control
Hmm.
the situations or control your environment or control those that are around you. I had a celebration myself yesterday. I don't know if you saw, but a celebration for my son. Like he ate his first new food in probably over 3 years yesterday. And I mean, this is a process that obviously took like 12 years. But like, I think I said to someone, I think that like what it was is that he's realized over the last 2 years that I accept him no matter what. Like before that, I always felt like I was a bad mom, although my daughter eats everything and anything. So it's obviously not a parenting thing. But like I'm somehow like a bad mom, or that I have to force him to eat, or I have to do this, or, you know, we've done therapies, we've done everything, takes medicine for it all. But like, I think that after probably actually not quite 2 years, but like maybe a year and a half of us just, it is what it is. Like, he tells us what to get at the store, that he feels comfortable eating that week. We get it. He decides each day what it is he's going to eat, and he does it. And we don't apply any pressure. We don't try to control him or whatever. And he just randomly yesterday said, "Can you make me this?" And it's something he'd never eaten before, ever. And I was like, "Sure, absolutely." Wasn't what we were going to have for dinner last night, but we did. Um, and I made it and he ate it. And it was, I think some things just take a really long time. But like knowing that he's fully accepted no matter what, he's not being judged, that he can just be himself, you know, he's feeling like he has some control. I don't need to control him.
Hmm. That's huge. I feel like a lot of kids don't feel in control
Mhm.
because adults, I mean, they're told everywhere, at home, at school, here are the rules you have to follow, here's what you have to do. So to give him that freedom, he needed his time, which we all do. And then, now he's in a place where he's able to kind of spread his wings a little bit and expand himself and grow. So that's a really beautiful, beautiful win for you and your son.
Yep, I think awareness and acceptance and non-judgment, equanimity, all of it. I mean, they're important things for meditation, obviously. They're components of meditation, but I think they can help us in our lives. And I think that's what Ryan was saying. Like now, my practice, like meditation is my life, like at every moment.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think this has been really good, and I hope that a lot of our viewers have gotten some good insight. And if anyone ever has questions, please reach out. Check out our Facebook group, Mindset Teaching Outside the Box. Eileen is in there too, so she's our meditation expert. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to her that way too. So Eileen, anything else before we wrap up?
No, well, they can find us on the podcast. They can also find us on our YouTube channel. They can access all the prior episodes in either of those places. But no, that's it.
All right, everyone, we are so grateful for you. We hope you have a lovely week, and we will see you next time.